Stop scrolling. Heaven has interrupted your timeline. And this is not your imagination. You didn't find this message. This message found you because heaven knew you wouldn't make it another night without a sign. It's 2 a.m. and you're staring at the ceiling again, the weight in your chest pressing down like tombstones. You've been carrying something you can't name, fighting battles no one sees. But here's the divine contradiction that will shatter everything you think you know. You were never abandoned. You were hidden. You were never forgotten. You were protected. You were never denied. You were being prepared. Right now, as these words pierce through your darkness, two angels stand in your room. Not the gentle harp playing kind. These are warriors, forged in fire, dispatched by name, sent specifically for you. You can't see them, but your spirit feels them. That sudden shift in the air, the way your heart just quickened, that's not coincidence. That's confirmation. The first angel carries a sword that has never lost a battle. His assignment is simple. Cut every chain that has kept you bound. The shame, the fear, the lies that whisper you're too broken to be chosen. The second angel holds a scroll, sealed with fire, inscribed with your next instructions. Not your dreams, your orders, not your hopes, your assignment. But here's what heaven knows that you don't. You have 21 minutes, not to panic, to respond, not to understand, to surrender, not to figure it out, to say yes. 21 minutes, because spiritual windows don't stay open forever. 21 minutes, because what's breaking through tonight won't return in the same form. 21 minutes, because your rescue has an expiration date. You've been wrestling with shadows, doubting your worth, questioning if God even remembers your name. But chosen one, the very fact that you're hearing this is proof. You are not random. You are marked. You are not overlooked. You are called by name. The silent earthquake in your soul, the restless nights, the feeling that something has to change, that's not breakdown. That's breakthrough knocking at your door. Thank you to every single one of you who has supported this message through super thanks. Your generosity means more than you know. You're not just giving, you're helping spread light to others who feel alone in their calling. Whether you give or not, I'm deeply grateful for your presence here. The angels are waiting, not with patience, but with purpose. They didn't come to comfort your confusion. They came to end it. Say yes, not because you're ready, but because you're chosen. 21 minutes starts now. You've been exhausted for years, and you couldn't explain why. Not lazy, not broken, not weak. You were targeted while you were sitting in your living room, thinking you were losing your mind. A war was raging in the invisible realm. Angels were drawing swords in secret. Demons were launching calculated attacks. And you, chosen one, you were the prize they were fighting over. Listen carefully. You weren't crazy. You were under siege. That bone-deep weariness that coffee couldn't fix, that wasn't depression. That was spiritual warfare. The way your energy drained around certain people, the nightmares that came out of nowhere, the sudden waves of anxiety in peaceful moments. None of it was random. You were being hunted. Every setback had a signature. Every betrayal carried the same fingerprint. Every door that slammed shut. Every relationship that crumbled without warning. Every opportunity that vanished at the last second. You called it bad luck. Heaven called it interference. The enemy knew something about you that you're just now remembering. You carry breakthrough for others, not just personal victory, generational freedom. That's why the attacks were so precise, so relentless, so personal. You thought you were breaking down, but chosen one, you were actually breaking through ancestral limitations, breaking through family patterns, breaking through spiritual ceilings that have trapped your bloodline for decades. That's why you never fit in anywhere. Not at family gatherings, not at work, not even in church sometimes. You were never made to blend in. You were forged to break cycles. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge, Hosea 4:6 declares. But you've been given sight in a world of blindness. That's why everything felt so heavy. You weren't just carrying your own struggles. You were carrying the weight of revelation, the weight of seeing what others couldn't see, the weight of knowing what others wouldn't acknowledge. Remember how you'd walk into rooms and feel the spiritual temperature? How you'd meet people and instantly know something was off, even when they seemed perfect to everyone else. How you'd sense trouble coming days before it arrived. That wasn't paranoia, that was prophecy. God gave you spiritual radar because He needed someone who could navigate in the dark. Someone who could discern the difference between God's voice and every other voice screaming for attention. But here's what the enemy feared most. Once you realized you weren't crazy, you'd become dangerous. Every wound was strategic. Every heartbreak was calculated. The enemy didn't hurt you randomly. He studied your blueprint and attacked your foundations. He hit your confidence because confident chosen ones are unstoppable. He attacked your relationships because isolated chosen ones stay quiet. He drained your finances because broke chosen ones can't fund the vision. But here's the divine reversal that will shatter your understanding. Every attack that was meant to destroy you actually developed you. Every betrayal that was meant to break you actually built your discernment. Every season of lack that was meant to limit you actually taught you to depend on heaven alone. You survived what was designed to kill you, not because you were lucky, but because you were covered. Right now, as you hear these words, something is breaking off your spirit. Can you feel it? That heavy blanket of confusion, that fog of self-doubt. It's lifting, because the truth has always been this: you were never the problem. You were the solution the enemy was trying to stop. Jeremiah 1:5 says, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart." Set apart. Not set aside. Set apart. That fire in your bones that wouldn't die, even in your darkest hour. That wasn't stubbornness. That was calling. That was destiny refusing to be buried alive. You kept getting back up because something inside you knew, this isn't how my story ends. The same Spirit that raised Christ from the dead lives in you. And dead things don't stay dead when resurrection power takes residence. That's why you're still here. That's why you're still fighting. That's why, even in your weariness, you clicked on this message tonight. Because somewhere deep in your spirit, you know the war is almost over. The siege is about to break. The rescue isn't coming. It's here. Can you sense it? That stirring in your chest? That sudden awareness that everything is about to shift? You've been in the valley of decision, but the mountain of victory is in sight. You've been in the season of preparation, but the time of manifestation has arrived. The very angels that have been warring over you are now being dispatched to you, not to fight for you anymore, but to fight with you. The war you never saw is ending. Chosen one, and you, bloodied but unbroken, weary but victorious. You are still standing. That alone terrifies hell and thrills heaven. You weren't breaking down, you were breaking through. And what's breaking through now will break chains for generations. The siege is over. The rescue has begun. This is not a scare tactic. This is a divine countdown. 21 minutes. Not literal time on your clock, but prophetic time in the spirit. It's a window cracked open between heaven and earth, and you're standing in the breach. Listen carefully, because what I'm about to tell you will shake everything you thought you knew about divine timing. Windows close, doors seal, assignments move on. You think God operates on your schedule, but heaven moves on heaven's time. And right now, at this exact moment, you're living in what the ancients called a kairos moment, where eternity touches time, where destiny collides with decision. That restlessness you've been feeling, that gnawing in your spirit that something has to change, that's not anxiety, that's anticipation. Your soul knows what your mind hasn't figured out yet. The window is open, but it won't stay that way forever. 21 minutes, not to think, to trust, not to analyze, to act, not to hesitate, to surrender. You see, there's something about the chosen that most people don't understand. You've never been comfortable with delay, because delay is foreign to your spiritual DNA. You were wired for suddenly. You were built for right now. That's why waiting has been so torturous, because deep down, your spirit knows when God moves, He moves fast. Think about it. Mary had 9 months to carry the Christ child, but the angel only gave her 1 moment to say yes. Moses had 40 years in the wilderness, but only seconds to choose the burning bush over the familiar path. Esther had months to prepare, but only 1 night to decide if she would risk everything for her people. One stands with a flaming sword that has never lost a battle. His assignment is urgent, his presence is fire. The other holds your scroll, but it's still sealed, waiting on your yes. Here's what will break your heart and heal it at the same time. These angels have been waiting, not for weeks, not for months, for years. They've watched you circle the same mountain, make the same excuses, choose the same comfortable prisons, but they haven't moved because they're not just messengers, they're covenant keepers. And the covenant says, I will never force your will, but I will never stop pursuing your heart. That's why you never feel comfortable here, in this world, in these shallow conversations, in these small dreams. You were never meant to fit in. You were born to stand out. You carry heaven's frequency, and Earth's radio can't tune into that station. But here's the revelation that will set you free. God didn't forget you. He hid you. He didn't overlook you. He preserved you. He kept you for exactly the moment the world needed your voice, and that moment is now. The second angel's scroll remains sealed, not because you're unworthy, but because revelation requires response. Heaven doesn't waste divine downloads on closed hearts, but it pours out strategy on surrendered souls. You want to know what's written on that scroll? Your next assignment, the people you're called to reach, the chains you're anointed to break, the territories you're commissioned to take. But the seal won't break until you stop asking, what if I fail? And start declaring, what if I fly? 21 minutes. Because windows have weight. Because mercy has limits. Because even God's patience, though long, is not endless. You've been praying for a sign. This is it. You've been crying for direction. This is it. You've been begging for confirmation. This is it. But let me tell you something that will either offend your flesh or awaken your spirit. God is done convincing you. He's said everything He's going to say. He's shown everything He's going to show. Now He's waiting for your movement. Right now, in the throne room of God, there's silence. Not the silence of absence, but the silence of anticipation. All of heaven is watching, waiting to see if the one they marked before time will finally say yes to the assignment they've carried since birth. The angels don't pace, they don't worry, but they do wait. And their waiting has weight, because connected to your obedience are the prayers of your grandmother, the tears of your children, the destiny of your bloodline. This window, this 21-minute prophetic moment, it's not just about you. It's about everyone God intends to touch through you. Every life you're meant to save, every heart you're called to heal, every chain you're anointed to break. It's all connected to this moment. Windows close, assignments move on. But chosen ones, real chosen ones, they don't let windows close on their watch. The first angel raises his sword, not in threat, but in readiness. The second angel holds the scroll closer, the seal beginning to crack, not from pressure, but from proximity to surrender. Your 21 minutes isn't ticking down, it's building up. Each second, you choose faith over fear. Each moment, you lean into trust instead of understanding. The window gets wider, the light gets brighter, the path gets clearer. Stop counting down, start stepping up. The angels aren't waiting for perfection, they're waiting for permission. Heaven has made its move. Now it's your turn. You've been carrying something your whole life, and you couldn't name it. That restlessness in your chest when everything seemed perfect on paper, but your soul screamed, "This isn't it." That unexplained sorrow that would wash over you in crowded rooms, making you feel more alone than when you were actually by yourself. Have you ever cried and didn't know why? Laughed at a family gathering, then felt emptier than ever? That wasn't depression, chosen one. That was your soul colliding with prophecy. Your spirit has been homesick for a place you've never been. Jeremiah 1-5 declares, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart." You weren't just born into this world. You were planted here with purpose, with assignment, with a frequency that doesn't match the noise around you. That's why small talk drains you to your core. That's why you can't get excited about things that thrill everyone else. That's why you've always felt like you're speaking a different language, even when using the same words. You thought something was wrong with you, but something was right with you, divinely right. The signs were everywhere, but the world taught you to ignore them. Remember when you were 7 and you knew your grandmother was sick before anyone told you? When you walked into that house and felt the heaviness before seeing the tears? When you dreamed of things that hadn't happened yet, but somehow came to pass? They called it coincidence. They called it imagination. They called it sensitivity, like it was a weakness. But heaven called it recognition. The ability to see beyond the veil, to sense what others couldn't, to carry the weight of knowing before the knowing became visible. That's why you never felt comfortable here. You were never meant to fit in. You were born to stand out, not for attention, for assignment, not for applause, for awakening. Isaiah 55:11 promises, "So is my word that goes out from my mouth. It will not return to me empty, but will accomplish what I desire and achieve the purpose for which I sent it." You are that word, walking in flesh. You are prophecy with a heartbeat. Every rejection was redirection. Every closed door was divine protection. You thought time was running out, but time was actually aligning for you. Those years of silence weren't punishment. They were preparation. God wasn't ignoring your cries. He was incubating your calling. You prayed for breakthrough, but you were being broken through. Refined in the fire until the dross of doubt burned away, leaving only pure gold, pure purpose, pure power. That job you didn't get, that relationship that ended, that opportunity that slipped through your fingers, none of it was random. All of it was orchestrated. Because God didn't forget you, He hid you. He kept you in the secret place, under the shadow of His wings, because the world wasn't ready for the power your voice carries, the authority your presence commands, the shift your obedience would trigger. But now, the hiding is over. The angels that came tonight, they didn't come to convince you. They came to confirm what your spirit already knows. Deep in the marrow of your bones, deeper than fear, deeper than doubt, you've always known you were different. Not broken different, chosen different. You've spent years trying to dim your light to make others comfortable. But comfort was never your calling. Disruption was. Holy disruption. Divine disturbance of everything that's been sleeping when it should be awakening. That fire in your chest when you hear injustice, that's not anger. That's righteous indignation. That pull toward the broken, the forgotten, the outcasts. That's not coincidence. That's assignment. You were marked before you took your first breath. Sealed before you spoke your first word. commissioned before you understood what commission meant. Every sign you dismissed was heaven's way of saying, remember who you are. The number sequences you keep seeing, the songs that play at exactly the right moment, the strangers who speak words your soul needed to hear, the dreams that feel more real than your waking hours. None of it is random. All of it is revelation. God has been speaking, and your spirit has been listening. Even when your mind was confused, even when your heart was breaking, even when your faith was hanging by a thread, your spirit never stopped recognizing the signs. And the greatest sign of all is that you're here, right now, at this exact moment. When heaven needed you to hear this word, when your destiny required this divine interruption, when your calling demanded this cosmic collision between your pain and God's purpose, you didn't stumble upon this message. You were summoned to it. The prophecy over your life was never canceled. It was delayed until you were ready to carry the weight, until your character matched your calling, until your heart could handle the holy. And now, as these words penetrate the deepest places of your soul, as recognition rises like fire in your bones, as tears you can't explain begin to fall, you know, this is your moment. This is your sign. This is your confirmation that everything you felt, everything you've known, everything you've carried in secret was real. You are chosen. You are called. You are about to be sent. The angels are still waiting, not for your perfection, but for your permission. Say yes, chosen one. The world has been waiting long enough. Listen carefully, because what I'm about to reveal will shatter every lie you've believed about yourself. These angels didn't come empty-handed. They arrived with specific assignments, written in fire, sealed with your name. And right now, as your heart pounds with recognition, they're moving in the unseen realm around you. The first angel, towering with wings that span eternity, carries no harp. His hands grip something far more powerful, the breaker's key. This isn't the gentle Jesus of Sunday school paintings. This is the warrior who flipped tables in the temple. His eyes burn like bronze, his voice thunders like rushing waters, and his assignment is surgical precision. He's been watching you carry chains that were never yours, lies whispered so long you thought they were truth. You're too broken, you're too late, you've made too many mistakes. But chosen one, those weren't your thoughts. Those were spiritual shackles, forged in hell, locked around your identity before you even knew you had one. Right now, this very second, you feel it. That weight in your chest, beginning to lift. That's not your imagination. That's deliverance in motion. The breaker doesn't ask permission. He doesn't negotiate with demons. When heaven dispatches him, chains simply break. The shame that clung to you from childhood, snap. The fear that whispered you'll never be enough, shattered. The spiritual exhaustion that made you feel like giving up, severed. But here's what will make you weep with recognition. This angel isn't handing you a sword, he's handing you, the version of you that hell feared you'd become, the version your grandmother prayed would emerge, the version God saw when he breathed life into your lungs 50, 60, 70 years ago. That's why you never felt comfortable here. Never quite fit in anywhere. You weren't supposed to. You were born to disrupt, not blend. You were created to stand out, not settle in. Do you feel that? That sudden warmth spreading through your spirit? That's the second angel drawing near. The revealer moves differently, like morning mist carrying sacred secrets. In his hands, a scroll burns with holy fire, and written upon it are instructions only your spirit can decode. Not generic encouragement, specific orders, not motivation, revelation. This angel whispers in a language deeper than words, and suddenly you understand why the doors closed, why the relationships failed, why the timing never seemed right. It wasn't rejection, it was redirection. Every no was heaven saying, "Not yet, my child. You're not ready for what I'm preparing, but you're ready now." The revealer is pointing, not to your past, but to your future. And what he's showing you will make your heart race with possibility. That dream you buried, it wasn't too big. Your faith was too small. That calling you silenced, it wasn't too late. It was too early. That voice you've been hiding, the world has been waiting to hear it. This isn't hype. This is your rescue. This is not delay. This is divine dispatch. God didn't forget you. He kept you, preserved you, protected you from premature exposure, because what you carry is too precious to waste on the wrong season. You've been hidden like David in the fields, prepared like Moses in the wilderness, refined like Job in his trials. But here's the moment that will break you open with truth. You thought you were being punished, but you were being positioned. Every tear you cried in secret, heaven collected in a bottle. Every prayer you whispered through pain, angels carried to the throne. Every night you felt abandoned, warriors stood guard around your bed. You were never alone, never forgotten, never cast aside. You were being forged in fire, shaped by pressure, prepared for a weight of glory that ordinary lives could never carry. That restlessness in your spirit, that's not dissatisfaction, that's divine stirring. That feeling that something has to change, that's not desperation, that's destiny knocking. The revealer leans close now, his breath like wind from eternity, and he speaks your new name. Not the name trauma gave you, not the label religion pinned on you, but the name written in heaven's book before time began. You are chosen, not because you're perfect, but because you're purposed. Not because you have it all together, but because God does. Not because you deserve it, but because grace decided you were worth it. And in this moment, as these truths crash over you like waves of mercy, something inside you that was dead begins to breathe again. This is not the end of your story. This is where your real story begins. The angels aren't leaving, they're leading, not just to comfort, but to commission, not just to heal, but to send. 21 minutes was never about rushing you. It was about awakening you to the urgency of your assignment. The world doesn't need another church member. It needs you. Raw, real, resurrected you. The time of hiding is over. The season of silence has ended. Your moment has arrived. And heaven itself is holding its breath, waiting for your yes. You're standing at a crossroads. And this isn't about choosing between good and evil. This is about choosing between surrender and spiritual suicide. God sent help, but He will not override your will. Even now, as angels stand in formation around you, they wait, not because they lack power, but because heaven honors choice. Free will isn't just a doctrine. It's the sacred boundary that even Almighty God refuses to cross. You feel it, don't you? That pull in two directions. Part of you wants to leap into this calling. The other part whispers the familiar song of delay. Maybe tomorrow. Maybe when I'm stronger. Maybe when I understand more. But here's what the enemy doesn't want you to realize. Pride isn't always loud. Sometimes it whispers later. Sometimes it dresses itself as wisdom, as caution, as being responsible. Sometimes the most dangerous rebellion is the quiet kind, the kind that keeps you circling the same mountain for decades. You were one decision away from spiritual collapse, not the dramatic kind where you curse God and walk away. The slow kind, where you just stop caring, where the fire dims to embers, where the dreams get filed under used to believe, where you settle into spiritual mediocrity and call it maturity. But Jesus stepped in. He looked at your timeline, saw where you were headed, and said to the Father, "Send the angels." That one is still mine. You think this moment is about you finally getting it together? No, chosen one. This moment is about Jesus refusing to let you go. You weren't being punished. You were being preserved. Every closed door, every delay, every season that felt like wilderness. It was all divine protection, because premature breakthrough would have destroyed you. Unprocessed success would have corrupted you. And God loves you too much to give you what you're not ready to steward. Look back at your life. Really look. Every time you almost gave up, something stopped you. Every time you were ready to walk away from faith, a whisper called you back. Every time the depression tried to convince you to quit permanently, grace intervened. That wasn't coincidence. That was intercession. Jesus has been standing between you and destruction, sometimes for years, buying you time with his blood. But here's the sobering truth. Mercy is a window, not a wall. It gives time. It doesn't guarantee endless chances. And you can feel it, can't you? The urgency in your spirit. The sense that this isn't just another spiritual pep talk. This is the moment. The angels aren't here for a casual visit. They're here for extraction. Not from your circumstances, from your complacency. You've been asking God for a sign, crying out for confirmation, begging heaven to show you that you matter. And now that the sign is here, now that confirmation is staring you in the face, the same voice that begged for proof is whispering, "What if this isn't real?" That's not discernment. That's delay. That's not wisdom. That's warfare. Because the enemy knows that if you say yes tonight, if you truly surrender in this sacred hour, his grip on your bloodline breaks forever. This isn't just about your personal breakthrough. This is about generational deliverance. Your yes doesn't just free you. It frees everyone connected to your obedience. Your children, your children's children, the people you haven't even met yet, who will be impacted by your assignment. God isn't asking for your perfection. He's asking for your permission. Permission to heal what's been broken. Permission to restore what was stolen. Permission to release what's been buried under years of disappointment and doubt. The angels are waiting, but they won't wait forever. Not because God stops loving you, but because assignments have timelines. Territories must be claimed. Chains must be broken. And if the chosen one won't rise, heaven will raise up another. You were never meant to be comfortable here, in this in-between place. You were never meant to fit in with spiritual mediocrity. You were born to stand out, to disrupt darkness, to carry light into places that have known nothing but shadows. That restlessness in your soul, that's divine dissatisfaction. That's God refusing to let you settle for less than what He ordained. That's your spirit crying out for the fullness of your calling. The crossroads is here. The angels have delivered the message. The scroll has been unsealed. The chains are ready to break. But the key to your freedom isn't in their hands, it's in yours. And it's not a physical key, it's a spiritual choice. The choice to stop running from your destiny. The choice to embrace the weight of your calling. The choice to say yes, not when you feel ready, but because you are chosen. 21 minutes. The clock is still ticking. Heaven is still listening. What will your answer be? The fire wasn't meant to destroy you. It was meant to crown you. Every flame that licked at your dreams, every trial that pressed down on your shoulders, every night you cried until your tears ran dry, that wasn't punishment. That was preparation. That was heaven's forge, shaping something indestructible inside you. You see, crowns aren't made in comfort zones. They're hammered out in the heat of impossibility, forged in the furnace of what others call failure. And you, chosen one, you've been in that fire so long, you forgot you were being refined, not rejected. Look at your hands right now. Go ahead, look at them. Those aren't the hands of someone who's been defeated. Those are the hands of someone who's been consecrated. Every scar tells a story. Every line holds a testimony. You've been marked, not by trauma, but by triumph. The enemy thought the fire would consume you, but God knew better. He knew that what doesn't burn away in the furnace isn't weakness. It's the unshakable core of who you truly are. And what remains after the fire, chosen one, is pure gold. You are not just a survivor. You are a deliverer, a breaker of chains, a restorer of foundations. This is the revelation that will shatter every small thought you've ever had about yourself. You weren't born to merely make it through. You were born to break through for others who are still trapped behind the walls you've already climbed. That restlessness in your spirit, that inability to settle for mediocrity, that fire in your bones when you see injustice, that's not agitation. That's activation. You carry something ancient, something prophetic, something that makes demons tremble when you walk into a room. You see, survivors tell stories about what they escaped, but deliverers, they carry keys to set others free. And every battle you've fought, every chain you've broken in your own life, has equipped you with the authority to break the same chains off someone else. There are people right now, sitting in the same darkness you once inhabited, waiting for someone who speaks their language of pain, someone who doesn't just preach from a pulpit, but ministers from their scars. That someone, chosen one, is you. The foundations that crumbled in your life weren't accidents, they were assignments. Because God needed someone who understood what it felt like to rebuild from rubble. Someone who could look at another broken soul and say, I know this place, and I know the way out. You are not watching this. You are walking into it. Your unveiling, your scroll, your mantle. Right now, in this very moment, something is descending from heaven's throne room. Not inspiration, but impartation. Not motivation, but coronation. The very atmosphere around you is shifting, because what you're experiencing isn't content, it's encounter. Can you feel it? That weight settling on your shoulders? That's not burden. That's blessing. That's not pressure. That's purpose. Heaven is placing something on you that you cannot earn, only receive. Something you cannot manufacture, only accept. Your scroll, sealed since before time began, is unrolling before your spiritual eyes. Your assignment, hidden in the secret place of the Most High, is being revealed. Your mantle, woven in the loom of eternity, is being lowered onto your frame. And here's what hell never wanted you to discover. You were never meant to fit in. You were born to stand out. That feeling of not belonging, that sense of being different, that was never your weakness. That was your calling card. That was heaven's signature on your soul. You've spent years trying to squeeze into spaces too small for your spirit, apologizing for taking up room you were designed to fill. But chosen one, there's no more shrinking. There's no more playing small. There's no more hiding your light under the basket of other people's comfort. The world didn't reject you. It just wasn't ready for you. But now is your time. Now is your season. Now is your crowning moment. God didn't forget you. He hid you. He kept you for exactly the moment the world needed your voice. While others were building platforms, you were being built in private. While others were gaining followers, you were gaining depth. While others were speaking to crowds, God was speaking to your character. And now that the foundation is solid, now that the roots run deep, now He's ready to unveil what He's been protecting. Every delay was divine strategy. Every closed door was heaven's way of saying, not yet, but soon. Every season of silence was God preparing your voice for the roar that's about to emerge. You thought you were behind, but you were being positioned. You thought you were forgotten, but you were being formed. You thought you were failing, But you were being refined for this exact moment, when the world would need exactly what you carry. The angels that came to rescue you, they're not leaving. They're transitioning from protectors to witnesses. Because what's happening now isn't just your breakthrough, it's your commissioning. You're not just being saved, you're being sent. Type "I remember now," not to comment, but to covenant. These 3 words aren't just a response, they're a resurrection. They're your spirit awakening from the amnesia of struggle, remembering the majesty of your calling. When you type those words, you're not just agreeing with a message, you're aligning with destiny. You're stepping from the shadows into the spotlight of heaven's purpose. You're saying yes to the version of yourself that God always knew you could become. I remember now. Remember your name in heaven's hall of fame. Remember your seat at the table of the chosen. Remember the crown that was always yours, waiting for the moment you were ready to wear it. Chosen one, your crowning is complete. Your time is now. Your kingdom awaits. Rise and take your place. You feel it, don't you? That strange stillness after the storm is past. You were pulled from the water, but not to sit on the shore forever. The angels didn't rescue you to retire you. They saved you to send you. And right now, in this sacred pause between deliverance and deployment, your soul is asking the question that echoes through eternity. What now? Chosen one. This is the breath between rescue and redeployment. The holy pause where heaven watches to see if you understand what just happened. You didn't just survive something. You graduated from something. Moses didn't die at the Red Sea. He was preserved to part it. Elijah wasn't rescued from Jezebel to hide in a cave forever. He was saved to anoint kings. David wasn't delivered from the lion and the bear to tend sheep for life. He was trained to face Goliath. And you weren't pulled from your personal Egypt to vacation in safety. You were rescued to be redeployed. But here's what's happening in your spirit right now, and why this moment feels so heavy. You're standing in the space between who you were and who you're becoming. Between the prison you left and the palace you're entering. Between the pain that refined you and the purpose that will define you. Rescued, but not retired. Saved, but not shelved. Delivered, but not done. That restlessness you feel, that's not anxiety, that's assignment stirring. The way you can't get comfortable in old places, that's not dysfunction. That's divine displacement. You were never meant to fit in. You were born to stand out. And some of you are fighting this because you've grown comfortable with the identity of the wounded. You've learned how to navigate sympathy, but now heaven is asking you to walk in authority. You've mastered the language of barely surviving, but God is teaching you the vocabulary of victory. This is why you feel so unsettled, even after the breakthrough. Because breakthrough isn't the destination, it's the departure gate. Let me tell you something that will shatter every comfortable lie you've been telling yourself. God didn't rescue you so you could live quietly. He didn't deliver you so you could blend in. He didn't heal you so you could hide your scars. He healed you so your scars could heal others. You keep looking back at the Red Sea, marveling at how you made it through. But God is pointing toward the promised land, saying that was just the beginning. The rescue was real, but the next breath is yours to command. And I know what some of you are thinking, but I'm tired. I've been through enough. Can't I just rest? Listen carefully. There's a difference between rest and retirement. God gives seasons of rest, but He doesn't give seasons of irrelevance. You think you missed your moment because you're 50, 60, 70 years old. You think your time has passed because you feel like you're starting over. But here's the divine contradiction that will resurrect your purpose. You didn't miss it. It was preserved for when your clarity could carry it. Young people have energy, but they lack wisdom. You have both scars and insight. You have both experience and expectation. You've been through hell, and you know the way out. That's not a disqualification. That's your credentials. The enemy convinced you that your best days were behind you, but heaven is declaring your best days are being birthed right now. In this moment, in this breath, between rescue and redeployment. Moses was 80 when he faced Pharaoh. Abraham was 75 when he left his homeland. Sarah was 90 when she birthed the promise. Anna was 84 when she prophesied over Jesus. Your age is not your limitation, it's your liberation. Because now you know what matters and what doesn't. Now you can discern between God's voice and the noise. Now you can walk in authority because you've been through enough to know who holds the real power. That's why you never feel comfortable here anymore. That's why small talk drains you. That's why you can't pretend everything is fine when it's not. Because you've been marked for more, and your spirit won't let you settle for less. God didn't forget you. He kept you for exactly the moment the world needed your voice. Not the young voice that tries too hard, but the seasoned voice that's been tested in fire. Not the untested prophet, but the warrior who's seen both darkness and dawn. So what now? What do you do with this breath between rescue and redeployment? You stop apologizing for taking up space. You stop shrinking to make others comfortable. You stop whispering when God gave you a voice that can shake kingdoms. The rescue was just the prologue. Your real story starts now. Not tomorrow. Not when you feel ready. Not when circumstances align. Now, because the world is drowning, and you know the way to shore. The young are lost, and you carry the map. The broken are scattered, and you've learned how to gather the pieces. You were rescued, not to retire from the battle, but to lead it. Saved, not to stay silent, but to speak life. Delivered, not to disappear, but to deploy heaven's strategy through your surrendered life. The breath between rescue and redeployment is over. It's time to breathe life into your assignment. The next chapter of your story starts with your next yes. The angels are no longer standing in your room. They're walking, moving with precision, with purpose, with the kind of authority that makes demons flee 3 counties over. Listen carefully, because what I'm about to tell you will change how you see everything that happens next in your life. They move when you move. They speak when you surrender. They fight when you obey. This isn't passive protection anymore. This is active partnership. Heaven has shifted from rescue mode to release mode. The first angel, the one with the sword, he's not just cutting chains now. He's clearing pathways, roads that were blocked for decades, suddenly opening, doors that were welded shut, beginning to creak on their hinges. But here's what most people don't understand about angelic movement. They don't work ahead of your obedience. They work alongside it. Every step you take in faith, they take 10. Every yes you whisper, they amplify into a roar that shakes the foundations of hell. The second angel, the one carrying your scroll, he's no longer just holding it. He's unrolling it, reading your next instructions out loud in the spirit realm. And chosen one, your name is echoing through dimensions you can't even imagine. You've been summoned, not to pray about it, but to step into it. There's a strategy table in heaven, and your life is spread across it like a battlefield map. But this isn't a defensive strategy anymore. This is conquest. Territory that was lost, being reclaimed. Ground that was surrendered, being retaken. Bloodlines that were broken, being restored. And you're not just a piece on that board. You're the general heaven has been waiting to deploy. That's why you never felt comfortable here, in this dimension of mediocrity. That's why small talk drains your soul. Why shallow relationships feel like sandpaper against your spirit. You were never meant to fit in. You were born to stand out. Not for attention, for assignment. God didn't forget you. He hid you. He kept you in the shadows, not as punishment, but as preparation. Because what He's about to release through you requires a depth that can only be forged in darkness. The angels are moving faster now because time is accelerating in the Spirit. What used to take years will happen in months. What used to require decades will unfold in seasons. This is divine compression, where heaven catches up your timeline to match your readiness. But here's the part that will make your spirit tremble. They're not just preparing your path, they're preparing you for paths you haven't even seen yet. Rooms you'll walk into where your presence alone will break generational curses. Conversations you'll have that will redirect entire family lines. Decisions you'll make that will echo through eternity. This is no longer about what you lost. It's about what's been waiting for your yes. That dream you buried after the betrayal, it's not dead. It was in a coma, waiting for this moment to flatline back to life. That calling you thought disqualified you when you fell, it never left. It just went underground, building strength, gathering power, preparing for this resurrection. The angels see it all, the blueprint of your becoming, and they're moving chess pieces you can't even see, orchestrating encounters that will feel like coincidence but are actually divine appointment. Every broken place in your life, every season of silence, every moment you thought God had forgotten your address, it was all preparation for this acceleration. You weren't being punished, you were being positioned. You weren't being abandoned, you were being arranged. And now the arrangement is complete. The first angel turns to you, sword still drawn, and speaks one word that will haunt your comfort forever: rise. The second angel extends the scroll, and you can see your name written in fire at the top. Not the name others gave you, not the label trauma tried to brand you with, but the name heaven spoke over you before time began. They move when you move, chosen one. They speak when you surrender. They fight when you obey. This is your moment, not to think about it, not to pray about it, but to step into it. Because the table is set, the strategy is clear, and heaven is no longer waiting for the perfect time. You are the perfect time. The angels are walking, and they're walking toward your destiny. The question that will determine everything that happens next is simple. Will you walk with them 21 minutes and counting? The scroll is open, the sword is drawn, and your name is being called from dimensions where doubt doesn't exist. This is no longer about rescue, chosen one. This is about reign. Listen carefully, because what I'm about to expose will shatter the deepest lie that's been choking your destiny for decades. You're sitting there, convinced it's too late, convinced you're too old, too worn down, too forgotten. The world has moved on without you, and you've been relegated to the sidelines, watching younger voices take center stage while you fade into the background. But that, chosen one, is hell's masterpiece of deception. You're too old now. That's what the enemy whispers every morning when you look in the mirror. Your moment passed. Your prime is over. You should have stepped up 20 years ago. But here's the truth that will set your soul on fire. You're not too old. You're perfectly aged in revelation. Every wrinkle on your face, every gray hair on your head, every scar on your heart, they're not signs of decline. They're marks of authority. You've been seasoned in the fire of experience, marinated in the wisdom that only comes through walking with God through valleys others never survive. The prophet Joel declared, "Your old men will dream dreams, not used to dream, will dream." Present tense, active, alive. God didn't give you decades of experience just to shelf you. He was preparing you for the assignment that requires everything you've learned. You missed the moment. Another whisper from the pit. designed to convince you that your season of significance has passed. But you didn't miss it. You were hidden until the world could handle what you carry. Like Moses, who didn't start his real ministry until he was 80. Like Abraham, who didn't receive his promise until his body was as good as dead. Like Anna the prophetess, who waited decades in the temple, preparing for the moment she would see the Messiah. Your delay wasn't denial, it was divine timing. God wasn't forgetting you, He was forging you. Every closed door, every passed over promotion, every time someone younger got the opportunity you deserved, heaven was orchestrating a masterpiece. Because what's coming through you now couldn't have come through the younger version of you. That person didn't have the depth, the discernment, the holy desperation that can only be birthed in the furnace of waiting. You felt like God was cutting you down, but He was cutting you back, so you could grow into the weight of what's next. Every loss, every stripping away, every season where life felt like it was being reduced to nothing, that wasn't destruction, that was pruning. Jesus said, "Every branch that bears fruit, He prunes, so that it will be even more fruitful." The cutting wasn't because you were failing, it was because you were being prepared to carry more weight, more anointing, more authority than your younger self could have handled. That's why you never felt safe in comfort. That's why the blessing didn't come early. It would have killed the real you. God had to strip away the false securities, the shallow relationships, the counterfeit callings, because what He's about to release through you demands purity. You're not behind schedule. You're right on time for heaven's calendar. Every senior citizen watching this, every person who feels like they've been forgotten by the world, you need to understand something that will rock your foundation. The kingdom of God operates on vintage wine principles. The best is saved for last. Your voice carries weight now that it never could have carried at 30. Your prayers have authority that comes from years of watching God move. Your discernment can cut through deception because you've seen enough counterfeits to recognize the real thing. That restlessness in your spirit, that feeling that there's still something you're supposed to do, that's not nostalgia. That's prophecy. That's the Holy Spirit stirring up the gifts that have been marinating in the secret place, waiting for the appointed time. So let's destroy this lie once and for all. You are not too old. You are perfectly positioned. You are not forgotten. You are being remembered by heaven at exactly the right moment. You are not irrelevant. You are about to become indispensable. The assignment that's been dormant in your spirit, the calling you thought you missed, the voice you thought was silenced, it's all about to be activated. Not despite your age, but because of it. Because God needs voices that can't be bought, spirits that can't be intimidated, hearts that have been broken enough to truly understand mercy. The world is about to discover what heaven has always known. Your time isn't over. It's just beginning. Every tear you've cried in secret, every prayer you've whispered in the dark, every moment you felt invisible, it was all building to this. Not your ending, your emergence. The angels standing beside you right now, they're not here to comfort your retirement. They're here to commission your reinvention. Your latter days will be greater than your former days. Your final chapter will be your finest chapter, because when God says, it's time, age becomes irrelevant, and eternity breaks through into time. The lie is shattered, the truth is rising, and you, chosen one, are about to walk into the most significant season of your entire life. Your time is now. The second angel steps forward now, and in his hands, the scroll unfurls like lightning across midnight sky. It's open now, but it's not for decoration. It's for declaration. Listen carefully, chosen one. In the spirit realm, what is not spoken often remains unseen. What stays silent in your throat stays sealed in your destiny. Heaven doesn't just want your agreement. Heaven demands your announcement. You see, There's a reason your voice has been under attack your entire life. Why you were told to be quiet, to stay small, to not make waves. The enemy knew something about your vocal cords that you're just now discovering. They carry frequency, divine frequency. When you speak, realms shift. That's why you never felt comfortable here. In this world of whispers and compromises, you were never meant to fit in. You were born to stand out. God didn't forget you. He kept you for exactly the moment the world needed your voice. But here's what most chosen ones miss, and it's cost them decades of delay. Your calling isn't activated by belief alone. It's activated by bold declaration. The scroll before you right now. It's written in heavenly script, but it requires an earthly voice. Your voice, trembling, broken, uncertain. It doesn't matter. What matters is that you speak it into existence. Think about this. Every miracle in Scripture began with someone speaking. Let there be light. Lazarus, come forth. Peace, be still. Words didn't just describe reality. They created it. And right now, as you sit in that chair, in that darkness, feeling the weight of everything you've carried, heaven is waiting for you to read your scroll aloud. Say it, even if your voice cracks. Speak it, even if no one's listening. Stand in it, even if your knees shake. Walk in it, even if the path is unclear. Build from it, even if you only have broken pieces. Bless through it, even if you feel unworthy. Because here's the supernatural truth that will change everything. When a chosen one speaks their assignment out loud, angels move into formation. When you declare your calling, strongholds begin to crumble. When you voice your yes to God, the very atmosphere around you rearranges itself to accommodate your obedience. You've been silent too long, and silence has cost you years. Years of wondering, years of wandering, years of watching others step into what should have been yours. But those years weren't wasted, they were training. Training your voice to carry weight when the moment came. That moment is now. The scroll isn't asking for eloquence. It's asking for honesty. It doesn't require perfect theology. It requires pure surrender. Heaven doesn't need your performance. Heaven needs your participation. And here's what happens when you read the scroll aloud, even in whispers, even through tears. First, your own ears hear heaven's plan for your life. Not secondhand, not through someone else's interpretation, but directly from the source. Your spirit recognizes truth, and your doubt begins to dissolve. Second, the enemy hears it too, and he knows his time over your life is finished. The assignments he had against you lose their legal right to operate. Why? Because when you declare God's will becomes manifested law. Third, other chosen ones hear the sound, even from miles away, even without knowing your name. Your voice awakens something in them, something that's been sleeping, waiting for permission to rise. Say it. Say, I am chosen, not by man, but by the Most High God. Speak it. Speak. My voice carries weight in the spirit realm. Stand in it. Stand in the truth that what He started in me, He will complete through me. Walk in it. Walk knowing that every step I take from this moment forward is ordered by heaven. Build from it. Build on the foundation that I am not too late. I am right on time. Bless through it. Bless others with the reality that what God does through one surrendered life, He can do through any surrendered life. The scroll doesn't close when you're finished reading. It multiplies. Your declaration becomes a template, a blueprint, a sound in the spirit that other broken vessels can follow home. Romans 10:17 declares, faith comes by hearing, and hearing by the word of God. Your voice, speaking your scroll, becomes the very hearing that builds faith in others. This is why your throat has been dry, why words have felt stuck, why speaking your truth has felt impossible. The enemy knew that once you found your voice, you'd become unstoppable. But the silence ends tonight. The fear breaks now. The intimidation loses its grip this moment. Conclusion: you are not walking alone, chosen one. As we come to the close of this divine encounter, I need you to remember 3 sacred truths that heaven has burned into your spirit tonight. First, you are not too late. Every delay, every detour, every moment you thought you missed your calling, it was all divine timing preparing you for this exact moment. Your age is not your limitation, it's your qualification. Second, you are not forgotten. While the world may have overlooked you, heaven has been watching, waiting, preparing the perfect moment to reveal what you carry. Your invisibility was not rejection, it was protection. Third, you are not alone. Right now, thousands of chosen ones, just like you are watching this message, feeling the same stirring, the same awakening, the same holy fire igniting in their bones. You are part of a remnant, a generation that refuses to be silenced. God is still moving in your life. Even in the quiet seasons, even in the waiting, even when it felt like nothing was happening, He was orchestrating, aligning, positioning you for such a time as this. There's a community here, praying with you, believing with you, standing with you. In the comments below, you'll find brothers and sisters who understand your journey, who've walked through their own valleys, who know what it means to feel called, but not yet released. Let me ask you this. What is the one thing God has been whispering to your heart that you've been afraid to step into? What dream, what calling, what assignment have you been pushing aside because you thought it was too late? Tonight, that changes. Father God, I stand before you right now with my hand on the shoulder of every person watching this message. You see them in their midnight